Okay.
My name is Brian Thomas. Today is April 21st, 2022. The time is 3:01 p.m. This interview is being virtually conducted and recorded. I'm interviewing Mr. Wayne Graves, who was born on June 8, 1939 in Milwaukee and served in the Vietnam War era between the years of 1961 to 1966. Mr. Wayne Graves was a sergeant in the Army and served in the military police. This interview is being sponsored by the Bell Tower Memorial. How are you doing, Mr. Graves?
I'm doing fine.
Wonderful. Thank you for having interest in this interview. So what was your life like growing up, Mr. Graves?
As a child,
Kind of in like your adolescent years leading up to your enlistment.
we were poor. I had 11 brothers and sisters, and we roughed it for the first 10, 15 years. We're just poor, that's all.
So then you joined the Army in 1961. What were you doing before you entered the service?
I had a job, got a job training to be a die maker, a tool maker.
All right.
And then from there, I went into the Army and did what the Army told me to do.
So was that after you graduated, or you mentioned some work? How old were you when you enlisted?
When I what?
When you enlisted, how old were you?
21.
21, all right. So then why did you select to enlist in the Army?
I had a brother-in-law that was in the Army, and he was served this time, and he was getting out. And I don't know if it's rules or not, but he asked me if I wanted to sign up, and he'd recommend me to this outfit that he was in. That's how I got in. That was my beginning.
Did you have a lot of friends that went into the services as well?
Yes, but my friends went into our National Guard. I didn't, but about 5 of my buddies went in the National Guard. And they were sent to, at one time, to, in Korea, where, was that Korea?
So when you enlisted, what was the reaction?
They were sent to guard the Berlin Wall.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
It was interesting.
So then when you enlisted into the Army, what was your parents and like immediate family's reaction?
Well, they were happy about it. They were very well accepted it. Yeah, sure.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure they were very proud of you to make such a noble decision like that.
Well, I had a family that all the brothers and my father were in the military, so it's part of my family duty to sign up in the service.
Which branch did your brother start to serve?
Different ones. My brother Al was in the Marine Corps. My brother Norm was in the Marine Corps. My brother Don was in the Army. And my brother Dick was in practically all the services. He's got discharge notices actually carved in his gravestone from the Army, Marines, Navy, and Air Force.
What branch did your father serve in?
Army.
The Army. Did that kind of influence decision to enlist and as well into the Army?
Oh yeah, sure. He was a captain.
Oh wow.
Yeah. On the landing of Normandy.
Really? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, he was out there.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So then the days before your departure to basic training, how did you feel? Like, what were the emotions going through your head? And then kind of like, did you have any celebration, family events going on?
Well, when they finished Fort Leonard Wood, it was nice to go home because I got a leave, and my family always was very proud of someone who was in the service. And yeah, I had good times.
So then you went off to basic training. And where was your basic training, sir?
Well, my basic training was Fort Leonard Wood.
Where was that at?
I went to basic there. And then after that, I went to Fort Belvoir. And that's where they had MP training, that type of stuff. It was a school post.
Was the size of your initial basic training very large or small?
The basic training?
Yes.
When you say large or small, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Were a lot of men there?
Yes, like when you first got there, was it a very large group of people, or where you kind of felt, wow, there's a lot of people here?
Oh yeah, sure. A lot of other soldiers, yeah.
So then the first day of basic training, once you got there, what were your emotions and how you felt at the time? Like how much of a shock was the new structure, the military bearings that you had to present? Was that a big kind of adaptation for you?
Well, I wasn't surprised at anything. I knew that the rules were do what you're told, and that's what I did. And that's all. That's what I did.
How long would so you adapted quickly then?
Yes, I did.
That's wonderful. I'm sure that did that help you throughout the rest of your initial training, the basic training then?
Yep, that's right.
Can you tell me a little bit about your basic training? What was your daily routine, and if there was anything interesting?
Well, basic training, they had classroom a lot. We marched to a lot of classrooms. We had classrooms quite often, and then we went into basic training, exercises, infiltration, jumping over things, fixing bayonets, trying to kill a straw man, that type of stuff.
How about the people you met during basic training? I'm sure when you went through all this new lifestyle, the people you went through it, I'm sure very much became your brothers. Is there anyone in particular or anything that any of them did that really stuck out to you?
No, I had everybody in the barracks. We're all friends and watched out for each other and talked, and we played a lot of cards, poker. I had one buddy who kind of followed me around all over the place. I couldn't even get a date unless he hung around with me. Yes, guy.
So then after the initial basic training, you stated that you went to additional training, correct? For MP?
Yes.
Where was that located?
At Belvoir, and that was traffic control mostly, wearing white gloves, directing traffic.
And then you went into the military police. Can you please kind of tell me about what it is, what the military police do, and what their responsibilities?
They're military policemen, and if they're called, they go out just like a police officer does and arrest somebody if they need to. That's what an MP does. They direct traffic. It's usually if an American soldier goes to town and there's trouble, well, they call the MPs. They take care of it.
And under like what circumstances would it differentiate from a normal police officer to a military police officer?
I think the military police did a better job. Soldiers didn't like being arrested by them. And when they came, they did what they were told. The military police is a great organization. Up here in Milwaukee.
So then who were the types of people you would work with in the MPs?
Just another soldier, nobody special, just another soldier learning to be an MP, or nothing unusual.
So near the end of your service career, I read that you became an instructor. That's correct?
Instructor.
An instructor, yes.
You would give classes on the 45. You give classes on crime situations, and then you would have the guys uh, solve the crime. You know, like they throw up 45 on the floor and someone have to go pick that up. That's a crime area. But 9 times out of 10, the person that was called on would pick the gun up with their hands and get balled out because they just wrecked the evidence.
There it is.
Their fingerprints are on the gun and they weren't supposed to pick it up at all. But they were learning. What do they know? You know,
Did that include some of the strategies and ways you would teach people with the MP training?
no, what they did is they asked a lot of questions. And if you asked you a direct question, you stood up and answered whatever questions they were asking you. It was nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary.
So during your free time, when you had a couple of weekends here and there while you were with the military police, what would you do for enjoyment?
On leave, if I got to leave,
Yes.
like from Fort Belvoir, I'd go to Washington, D.C., Maryland, see the sights, look for girls.
Did you generally go with a large group of other people, or would it just kind of be like you in the city?
Yeah, at times. One time we went to a beach of some kind. About six, 7 guys went to a beach. One of them had a car, and we drove there and would go in the water, swim, dance, and then go back to the post on Sunday night. It was just one of those things. Other times I went to Washington, D.C., seen the sights, and this buddy that always followed me around, he was there. So I had a good time. It's nice to have a friend with you all the time.
What was your favorite monument in Washington, D.C.? Your favorite place to visit?
I seen the White House, and I thought that was impressive. The White House and the Washington Monument was impressive.
That certainly is, yes.
Yeah.
So then throughout your service, what would you consider to be your most important contribution?
Contribution?
Yes, sir, yes.
Well, I don't know how to answer that because I did what I was told. I did my job. And that's all I had to do. I didn't volunteer for much.
So then in 1966, you left the Army. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
What made that decision?
Well, because my time was in, I was working on a trade. I was working on my trade. I was learning to be a die maker. And the money, you earn good money. The money was good. And after a lot of years working and learning to be a die maker, I opened my own business. I had my own business for 25 years.
After you left the Army, what were the biggest takeaways, lessons, and values that you learned within your service?
What I learned in the service. I'll don't exactly know how to answer that.
Perhaps the discipline or anything like.
Well, I learned the discipline myself to do things that I wasn't taught in service. I applied that to my business because I hired people, and for them to do a good job, I had to make sure they did it. So I had to have a lot of discipline to make an employee do the job that I wanted to do.
Accountability too then?
Pardon?
Okay, accountability too then?
Yes.
So then where did you go directly after you returned from your service?
Milwaukee, my home.
Milwaukee, nice. And then what was your plan? Did you go back with the direct plan of opening that establishment? Or did that?
No, I didn't. I didn't know I was going to open a business then. I worked as a die maker, worked for die shops, other people. And then at the right time, I saved up money and I decided to open my own shop. And that's what I did.
So you adapted back to civilian life very well then?
Yes. Oh, yes, sir.
And very quickly.
I'm proud to be a veteran.
That's wonderful. So tell me about your dye shop. Kind of what made you decide to open that establishment right away?
Well, uh, I was working for this one dye shop. Now, it turns out that he had sons, two sons, and they were young at the time, 7, 8 years old. But as time went on, they were getting older, and my importance to the business was going less and less and less. Although I was a good dye maker, but I would never be able to run the dye shop, own the dye shop. Pretty soon their kids would be telling me what to do. That upset me, so I decided to open my own. I had some money, bought some machinery, made a couple loans from the city. And after a while, the business was so good, I built my own building. I built a real nice building. And I had lasers, plotters, all kinds of tooling that cost money. And I was happy with it. Yep.
And that's in Milwaukee, correct?
Milwaukee, yes.
And how long has that been? So when did you open that? Right after you returned?
Well, not right after I got out of service. It took years, 10 years maybe. It took a long time to acquire money to do anything at all. You needed money to start a business.
Would you say perhaps that your military experience and some of the things you used were able to help you work your way up to that level of opening that institution?
I think the service taught me, in a sense, I was taught to be a leader, and I was a leader in my business. In my opinion, I should have been a lieutenant.
Yeah.
Because I was a leader of men, that's why.
That's interesting. Yeah. Was there any particular throughout your training, any particular leaders that maybe stood out to you, or anyone that greatly impacted your life? And maybe what they did exactly that made that impact meaningful?
I mean, anybody made me a better person? Well, I don't know. I just paid attention to everything that went on. The people that were my boss, and they were good at what they did, I paid a lot of attention to that and made up my mind. Whatever they taught me, I was going to do it better. That was my motto. And that's what.
A great motto, yeah.
Yes. So.
When you were stationed and you went to training and you left home, was there anything that you brought with you, like any sentimental objects?
You mean home or into service?
Into service, sir.
None. No, just myself.
Really?
Oh, no. I had a girlfriend and her sister. I had pictures of them with me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd show those off on the jaw line. They liked it. Yeah, they were.
Do you still keep in contact with your military friends?
No, not really. Not really. I was in a restaurant just the other day, and I was talking to this guy. He's a veteran, and he used to. He said he was in the guards, and he was in the, what's that patch with a hatchet in it?
What was that, sir?
The what?
Can you please repeat that, sir?
It's the patch has got a hatchet in a log. That's the outfit he was in, right? He was telling me. Well, anyways, that's just one person I met.
What about the services overall? Are you still involved with it?
In the service?
Yes, sir.
No, I'm retired now. Now although I do some work for some dye shops when I'm called on. I'm on call duty. You know.
Did the tradition of joining the military travel down to maybe your kids and or grandchildren? Because you had mentioned that.
Yeah, I had nieces and nephews. I had a niece that joined the Army.
Oh, really?
I'm very proud of her. She became a helicopter pilot.
Oh, wow.
And could fly them too. And that's my niece.
That's very interesting. Wow.
Yeah, so proud of her.
You stayed in the U.S. during your service, sir, correct? Yes.
Pardon?
So you stayed in the U.S. during your service, but while the Vietnam conflict was occurring, that's correct?
I was in during that time, yes.
Were you in the United States still?
Yes, all my time was in the United States. Yes.
Did you have maybe any friends during basic training that went over to Vietnam? Did you have any friends?
Oh, they're not a friend, but I had while I was at one of the posts, I'm not sure if it was Fort Belvoir or what, I had another sergeant that came back from Vietnam. He was in combat. And what surprised me, he was attached to our outfit and was telling me he wanted to go back to Vietnam. I couldn't believe that.
Really?
Hard for me to believe. He wants to go back to the horrible war. But he did, and he got our captain to get him back in there, and he did. He went back.
Wow.
So you got to be proud of a guy like that.
So maybe you would share this advice with any of your nephew, or you mentioned that you had a family member that went in. Did you give them any advice or would have any general advice for young people, maybe such as myself, that are interested in going into serve?
I tell young people it's a good idea to join the service. My belief is I think everybody should.
Really?
Yes. Why not? Especially the men.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Yes. Everybody should have a chance to defend their country.
Did you bring anything with you today that maybe you'd like to talk about, sir?
Oh, no, just pictures here. Can he see this? Can I show him?
Yeah, hold it up.
This is my book that I got. Can you see that?
Wow. Yeah, lots of people in there. Which one of them is you?
Let me see where it is. This one here. Right where her finger is. Can you see it?
Are you the one on the far left?
On my right.
You're right. Okay.
It's me.
Hey, there you are.
Yeah.
What year was this taken?
Probably in 1961.
So that was basic training.
You got these right after basic and stuff like that.
Do you have any additional photographs in there that you can share?
No, I really don't. I did have a picture of myself in uniform, but I gave that away to one of my nieces who thought she needed it. So this is some of the basic training stuff we did. Can you see that?
Yeah, wow.
No.
So how often would you do those things? Every day?
No, we had something to do every day, but we did different things. But I'll tell you something, that stuff that they teach you saves your life.
I'm sure it does. Yes, sir.
Yes. And are you going to be a lieutenant in the military?
I am looking at that and as a possibility for my future. Yes, sir.
Hooray. We need good men.
I appreciate that. So then,
They're telling me every day when we had lunch, to go into the cafeteria, we would have to do pull-ups to be able to get in there to have our lunch.
really?
If you couldn't do 10 of them, then you had to go in the end of the line. Eventually you ate.
Okay. I was gonna ask, would anyone ever go hungry?
Nobody went hungry. No, not at all.
Did you ever have to go to the back of the line?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I did. Sure. But once, but that's, do 10 pull-ups is not easy.
Absolutely, yeah. So then back to your service. Was there any particular cases or stories that really kind of struck out as very like prominent within your career in the military police?
No, not really, because I went to have a machine shop, a die shop, and it really didn't have nothing to do with the military police or even the military. It's,
Well, during the military was, I'm sure every day wasn't just the same thing. Was there anything ever interesting or any like story, or do you have a story that you can share during your time in the military police?
well, I have maybe a story or two, but I can't share. But I liked it. I had a good time. And if I had to do it again, I would.
Yeah, what was your what would you say your daily schedule was like?
Now,
While you were in the military police?
well, you got up early in the morning, you took your showers, you got out there, they did exercises and all kinds of exercises. They would test you on everything. And then you went to classes, whatever class they had at the time. And then, of course, that'd take up most of the day. Then you were marched back to the barracks, and then you had chow after that. Then you went to bed again and did the same thing the next day. You know,
Did you enjoy barracks life?
most of it. Well, we had a problem with people wondering how are you going to clean a barracks. There was one time a lieutenant would come in there and check it out and make us do it over. So we took all the bunks out of the building and hosed it down. The whole thing, everything. Let it dry and put it all back in there. Then he couldn't find no dust. So, but
There you go. Yeah,
what you do what you have to do.
absolutely. Yeah. During your time serving, did you get any awards or anything like that?
No, just a sharp. I'm not a sharp shooter, but I knew how to shoot a rifle.
There you go.
So I learned that. I learned how to fix a bayonet. Learned how to use it. Didn't do nothing for me in civilian life, though.
During your service, were you ever involved in any like combat situations while you were in the military police, and any occasions that went a
No,
little?
we were always worried. We were always worried that we were going to be called to go someplace, but it never turned out that way. But we were lucky that we had our jobs to do, and we always knew that if something happened, we would be called in to go to a battlefield of some kind. You know, so
Would that be something if you were called overseas into, let's say, like in Vietnam, could they have done that?
they could have, yes.
Did
If
that happen at all?
you
Maybe
picked our unit to go, yeah, we would have had to go, yeah, sure. So,
did any of your people you work with, did that ever happen to any of them?
yeah, those friends of mine that from Milwaukee, they went in and were called to go to the Berlin Wall.
Oh, really?
They were there for a year because they thought Russia was going to start something down there. And that's what they did. So yeah, there's things happened.
So now that like nowadays, would you say that your military service has still been prominent in your life? How often would you reflect back to it and kind of consider those experiences?
What? Say that again, please.
Kind of nowadays that you've been retired out of the military for a while, but do you still often kind of consider and think back to it?
Oh, all the time, especially now with you know what's going on, the war going on. Hell,
Of course, yes.
I'm ready to sign up. You take me.
Is that so? Yeah. I'll be there with you. We'll both be lieutenants.
Well, you know, I'd rather die for my country than just die.
That's a great cause. Yes, sir.
Remember that.
Sir.
Oh. Hmm?
Somebody not the movie.
To what?
You put the guns in a tripod.
Oh, yeah, that happened. There was an incident that happened to me on a firing range. We're all taking our turns to practice shooting. And there was a break and they tripod the weapons, everybody, tripod them. So, and a guy standing close to me kicked one by accident, knocked all the rifles down.
Oh, gosh.
It's a sin.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Sergeant come running over and said, all right, he didn't exactly use our name, just another name they gave us, asshole.
Oh, gosh.
And I knew the other guy knocked those things down, but he wouldn't admit it. So I didn't say nothing. So I was punished just like he was. I had to clean another barracks weapons till 10 o'clock at night. After we had chow, I worked till 10 o'clock at night cleaning rifles for something I didn't even do.
Really? Yeah, here, if you drop a rifle, you have to drop with it and start knocking out some push-ups.
Oh, they do other stuff too. I did. Okay, there's one thing that happened, and it might have been that day. I can't put them together. That guy and me, we had to take our rifles, they were M1s at the time. And when they're marching us back, we had to run around
The formation?
calling ourselves a name.
Yep.
All the way back to, we ran around them. That was part of our punishment.
I can't say I haven't seen that here. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that damn guy.
The honor flight. Have you ever been on the honor flight?
No, me and my brother were gonna go, but we choose not to. Not special reason, just that my brother wasn't gonna go, so I didn't, and he passed away since then.
Have you ever been to the monument in Washington?
Yeah, I went there when I was in service, and I was there. The only one I can remember is when I was in service. I was not inside it, just looking at it, outside. It was hard to get around in Washington, D.C.
All right, Jean, are we okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, she said.
All right, wonderful. So in closing, this has been an interview of Mr. Wayne Graves regarding his service during the Vietnam War era. My name is Brian Thomas, and the time is 3:34. Mr. Graves, thank you for agreeing to the interview, and most importantly, thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank
If you ever need any help, call me up.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.